Hi, this is Nick from Zamora Woodworking. Today I was going to go over what a CNC is, the basics of it, and what you need to possibly buy when you order it. It seems a bit overwhelming when you first jump into this whole world. I know when I got into it, it was like, man, I want to get one. What do I need? Do I need this? Do I not need this? What talks to what? How am I going to do this? I was in way over my head and, browsed around the internet, found different things, and I was going to try to condense it as much as possible and try to explain what options are out there, what I think you need. This will go into two parts, so I'm going to explain it at first, what a CNC, how it operates, and then the second part, I'm going to go into what things I think are critical that you need to purchase, and then other items that are nice to have. Hopefully this helps you guys. If you can, give a like, share, subscribe, but definitely subscribe down below. It really helps this channel grow. We're over 600 subscribers now, and I'm very, very, very appreciative. This has been awesome. Again, as a reminder, once we get to 1,000, I just ordered it and it should be here soon. I'm going to be giving away a brand new Jenny bit. If you're subscribed, you'll automatically be entered. So stick around and hopefully learn something. Thanks. So for the first part, I want to go over how does a CNC operate. If you're brand new to this, you see everyone making stuff and you're kind of overwhelmed and you're wondering, like, is this something I could even do? Where do I start? How am I going to program it? How's it going to move? Like, how's everything set up? So to make it a bit simpler, I'm going to try to do an analogy. This doesn't match perfectly, but this is the only way I could kind of think of it conceptually. And this is far from perfect. This is just the best way I could think of it. So for me personally, going to the grocery store, wife treats me like a dumb 200-pound gorilla because I constantly screw things up. And that's how this metaphor is going to work. And I might do that on purpose, but that's between you and I. The way the CNC works and the way this analogy is going to hopefully help is picture your wife sending you on, or husband or whoever, significant other, is sending you on a grocery run. With my wife specifically, she has to be as specific as humanly possible because I screw things up. So the instructions that my wife would give in this specific analogy would be that she'd tell me to go over to the store, exactly what aisles to go in, as detailed as humanly possible. Now, all of those would be sent over in a text message. And you'd have 100%, I mean everything, by going to this aisle, walking this far, going and picking up this item, going back, everything being as detailed as humanly possible. So that is what is considered your G code in this analogy. So your G code is a list of commands, and you would create that on your laptop. Now you can transfer that. To your controller box, and this is kind of like my phone in this analogy. What this thing's going to do is it will read in every single one of those commands and tell me, and I, in this analogy, am the motors in here, all the different motors that make this thing move. This will tell these motors exactly how to move and in what order to move. There's no guesswork, there's no design work. Once it is to this, it is what it is. So whatever you've created, it's going to run when you open that file within this box. So in the analogy, I'm going to the grocery store, I open my phone, which is this, and it tells me, go to aisle such and such. Well, this moves and it does all that. So it's kind of a simplified version. But that is the gist of how this all works. The programming is not done on this. The programming is done on a computer. And that may seem intimidating, but a lot of that is pretty automated. You just draw your shapes. You have to decide what bits to use, how fast to move, what order, or you have to decide what order to go in, stuff like that. But once you open the file, this guy just runs through it. This guy just runs through it. It just reads through the code line by line by line. Obviously there's some setup, which I'm kind of skipping in this very, very generalized analogy. But that is the way things kind of work. Hopefully that cleared it up a little bit for you guys. Let's move on to the purchasing of one of these machines. Now the first thing you got to do is decide, and I kind of went through the building process on their website, is you need to decide what size machine you want. So it depends on what you want to do. If you're going to be doing small machining of non-ferrous metals, meaning like aluminum and brass, you're probably going to want the machinist. Machinist is 16 inches by 16 inches. and that will get everything done for you. Now, if you want to jump up to the woodworker comes in two different flavors. They have the Woodworker X35 and the Woodworker X50. Now, the X50 and the X35 do not denote the cutting area. Woodworker is 32 inches from there to there by 32 inches from here, 32 inches. This bar itself is a Journeyman, so it's right about in here, 32 inches. Now with the X50 and the X35, the designation on that is the actual rail size, and that is in millimeters. So X50 is 50 millimeter rails, which is this size, not this length, but this thickness here. The X35, however, is this size here. You can see the size difference. These are 35 millimeters. So if you get the Woodworker that's the X35, you'll be getting this same diameter rail that has a cutting area of 32 inches by 32 inches. Keep in mind, you're really truly only restricted by one of those dimensions, meaning this way, which is your x-axis. So by being restricted by that, there's a thing, which I'm not going to go into depth here, there's a thing called tiling where you do so much of your job, you'd pull the board forward, you do so much of it, then you can pull another 32 inches and do so much of it. So really you're restricted by 32 inches this way. Now if you want to use a full sheet of plywood, you need to upgrade to the Journeyman. This is the Journeyman here. It can do 48 inches across, but it still uses these same exact rails right here that are only 32 inches across. This is 48 right here, and then by 32. So with this, a full sheet of plywood will fit through here, but I can only do 32 inches at a time. I'd have to do 32 inches, then pull it forward, and there's a process for that. You can find it online. I haven't tried it yet. Most of my projects have been a lot smaller than that, but you get the option to do it with, even with a 16-inch machinist. You can do 16 inches, pull it through, 16 inches, pull it through. That is a possibility. Now currently, at the date of this video, there is a thing called Infinite Possibilities that if you order a woodworker and say you want to upgrade to a Journeyman, they will take in your old rail and give you credit and send you one of these out at a discounted price. It's really cool. They did that for a lot of first adopters. I don't know if they're still doing it at the time of you watching this or if they're doing it for people who order later, but I know I ordered previous to this thing being available. So I ended up using that program and I ended up getting this. It was really nice. And then they donate that, I believe, to a charity or school of your choice, something like that. You can read more on their website, assuming it still exists. It may not anymore. I don't know. But at the time of the filming of this video, it did exist. All right, now moving on to the essentials that you need to purchase with your machine. So if you're new like me, I just got their brand of control box. You can technically get other brands. They're not going to be set up specific to your machine. You're going to have to do a lot of extra work. I know that there's, I believe, 2 other options. This one worked just fine for me, and the support's there from Onefinity. I don't know if they support third parties. I would highly doubt that they provide any tech support or anything like that, since it's not their product. So they have a control box, and you will need one of these to make your machine move. It doesn't just move on its own. This provides power. It also provides instructions. It's not going to work without it. So you will need one of these regardless of where you get it from or anything like that. That is essential. And they do have plenty of different inputs on them, USB, then all your motor controls. They can hook up a laser. They can hook up a probe. They also have an I/O board right here, an HDMI out, and then a network cable. The next item that I would highly suggest is some sort of a display. Do you need the touch display like I have here? Not necessarily. You can hook it up. I mean, it's just an HDMI port. You can hook it up to any old TV. Also, you can network into it and talk to it with your laptop and send over your codes through that. That's completely fine. You won't miss out on anything. For a while there, I actually used the HDMI and I used a wireless keyboard and mouse and did it that way. Since I had this, I don't use that anymore. But no matter what, I believe that you do need some sort of a heads-up display so you know what the machine's doing. I don't think it's exactly that safe to just be going on the laptop. Any old computer screen or anything else that can output HDMI can communicate with this, and you can see your heads up and know what it's doing. So you're not exactly locked to the touch display, but I don't think Onefinity even makes much money on them, if at all. So if you want one, that's a great option. You know it works with it. There are compatibility issues with some touchscreens on their website. There's a whole list of what works and what doesn't. I'm not going to link to it because that link may change, who knows what, but you can search on their website and they know which ones work with it, which ones don't. This is a Raspberry Pi, so if you know it works with Raspberry Pi, odds are it will probably work for you. Next item is a dust boot of some sort. This is the Suck It dust boot. I've used this. This is great. This is front facing. I have an entire video on dust collection. I have an entire video on dust collection. There's a lot of great tips in there. I'm not going to go over it in this video, but I highly suggest you check that one out. And then there's also Pawn CNC, PWN CNC, that makes this one here that I printed out. They're also great. There's other options. Don't limit yourself, but I think that the options that are available on the website are great too. So pick one. I would highly, highly, highly suggest a dust boot, because if you start getting a lot of dust up in here and all over your machine, you know, you saved $100, but then you ruin your machine, or you miss steps because it got so dirty. Keep your machine clean. They're only going to be as good as the way you take care of them. So you don't take care of them, don't expect them to serve you very long. This is very, very cheap for the protection that you get. Following up on the dust boot, this is a wireless joystick. This guy here allows you to, it's not 100% necessary, but I do find it very nice to have. And for the price, there's, I don't think, a reason not to get it. You can also, there's certain ones that you can find on Amazon, but I don't think Onefinity is making any money off of these either. I think it's just an easy thing to hand to people and have it on their website. I don't think they're making much off of it. But what this guy does is it allows you to move around a lot quicker and get to your material zeros or get your tool out of the way. You can, with the touch screen or a wireless keyboard and mouse, use your main screen and jog around just like this, but you got to keep tapping buttons. Communication issues, there's plenty of things that may mess up, who knows. For this guy here, I use it all the time. I almost considered not getting it, thought it was kind of stupid. I use it nonstop. Even when I'm flattening slabs, I use this to actually do it. I don't actually program. So one of these I think is essential. Maybe you could do without it, but I think you're going to end up ordering it anyways, so buy once, cry once. What I have here, next item, is the touch probe. These are great. They can get you extreme accuracy, so when you put this guy down on top of your material, say this is my material, the router will come down, you'll get that to the chuck, it'll come down and touch, it subtracts this thickness out, and it gets this depth right here of your material down within, I've never even seen a tool mark whenever they've had it down right. So it'll come on down, it'll subtract this out, it'll get your material depth down absolutely perfect, and it's all automated. Once you press the button, it does it for you, and it touches, and it knows when it happens. It's a really great tool to have, and it can also give you your X and Y positions right here. You put that on your machine, it touches here, it touches here, it touches here, and it figures out all the different distances for you in an automated fashion and gets them absolutely perfectly and repeatable. These guys here, at first you may think they're a bit overpriced, but I think they're absolutely indispensable, especially when you're new, and it eliminates a lot of different errors for newer people. These are phenomenal. I live by this thing. I use it all the time. I don't know how people do without it. There are ways to go around using one of these. It's a paper method. You basically put a piece of paper, you drop the bit. It takes forever. How much is your time worth? And also your precision is not going to be that great. The last part of essentials that I believe that you should purchase is obviously software. You're going to need software. On the Onefinity website, there is vCarve Pro and Carveco Maker. There's a couple flavors of it, of desktop and pro. Desktop, I think, limits you to 32 inches by 32 inches. Pro does not, but you can still tile on 32 inches, as I spoke of before, and get to a larger size. And if you do purchase the lower end of it, the desktop, you can also upgrade currently at the recording of this video for just the difference. You just email them, and if it's $100 difference, 200, 300, whatever it is, they'll just charge you that. Also, if you purchase this on Onefinity's website, it was cheaper than actually on VCarve's website. I think it was about $70 cheaper, at least at the recording of this video it was. So take that into account. I got my license pretty quick, and I haven't looked back ever since. That is a one-time charge. I don't know about the Carveco Maker, if that's a yearly thing or whatnot, but you're definitely going to need some sort of software this thing's not going to run. There are free options. I know Fusion 360 is one of them. There are many others. There's people that love all of them. I think it's once you get into one, you kind of stick with it. Sometimes people outgrow them. The only one I know is VCarve Pro, and it's worked great for me, so that's what I'm going to stick with. So for the extras, I guess this falls into extras. These are more things that obviously I want and I think I would use, but I don't need to get up and running. With these, I put the bit sets. So there's one there's the Jenny bit set, which I use the Jenny bits. That's this guy here. And I have the mini Jenny right here. I absolutely love them. There's also the Two Moose Design bit set and the Myers Woodshop bit set. All great bits. What I would tell you to do is buy some crappy bits on Amazon, because you will snap a bit. You will burn them up. You'll turn up your router too high. You'll do something stupid at the beginning. Until you're very, very comfortable, don't use those nice bits unless you like buying a lot of nice bits. Use those crappy Chinesium ones. And once you get much better, absolutely start using the other ones. I wouldn't say not to buy them. Like, absolutely, if you want to buy them, do. But at first, don't ruin those ones, because that's gonna really hurt. Then there, on the website, I saw there's the Oops clamps. I've never personally used them. There's plenty of people that absolutely love them. I think they're very low profile. I don't know a ton about them. Those are great to have. I currently just use the 1/4-inch threaded spoil board here, and I just thread things in, or if it's a big piece, I'll just screw it down, or CA glue. There's a method with that where you just put blue tape on both sides. You put some super glue on one side, put accelerator on the other, stick it down. That works too. You got to get special like clamps for this stuff. You don't want clamps that are really, really high, or this thing's going to hit it and break. You got to make sure your clamps are out of the way. So the Oops clamps, from what I gather, they're very low profile. They work really nice. A lot of people like them. I think they're worth getting, but I don't really use them, just because I mainly screw things down, or I just hold it with this. One of the other cool items that came out with this year is the Quick Connect frame. So the Quick Connect frame, I will have a photo of it right here. And there's two flavors of it. There's secure from above, secure from below. What basically these frames do is they connect underneath this guy, that guy, and that guy on the back. They create a spot to put your spoil board on, along with really stabilizing your machine and keeping things in line, making things look very clean and professional. The only reason why I didn't put this on a necessity is because if you want to build a board or something like that, like I built this table, that'll work as well. For the price, I don't think you can really go wrong with what they're selling. I don't know how they're even making any money off it. That's a really good price. I just didn't see any needs for it. If I make this mobile, I could see that, but this guy is really, really heavy. I'd probably have to do that with a smaller version of this machine. But it's super nice. I mean, it keeps your machine perfectly square when you set it all up. From what I've gathered, I don't have personal experience with it, only from what videos I've watched. And it has nice dedicated slots. So secure from above, you put in your pieces of spoil board and you secure it from above, as it states. Secure from below, obviously, you secure it from below, you tilt up your machine, they give you spacers, and you secure your pieces of spoil board below. Your spoil board is very important whenever you're machining, because you don't want to ruin your table. That's what this thing's for, and then you replace it every so often. Those Quick Connect frames are really awesome, but I just haven't got my hands on one. Maybe in the future, who knows. But I don't think they're necessary to get you up and running. But if you want to get up and running super quick, definitely an awesome option. They look super nice and they'll serve you well. I haven't heard many complaints about it. Except along with that, they came out with this year was the rolling stand legs. Those are really nice. So if you have a garage that if you're using a space where you have to move the machine to be able to use it, or if you're sharing your garage with your significant other or something like that, really nice option is the rolling. And I believe those only connect to the quick connect frame, so you have to get that in order to get the rolling stand legs or to get them to work properly. Again, I think that they'd be nice if you really want to get something extremely clean looking, because this machine already looks beautiful. You add that in there, it looks super nice, makes it very mobile. I don't know if they make it for the Journeyman yet or not, but that's going to be a lot of weight. So if you're okay with moving that around, I mean, this guy's heavy. Yeah. With these machines, you can also add a laser. There's the JTech 7-watt laser. I believe there's other options. It connects up here, and you can move your router out of the way. I think there's other ways to do it. There's people who sell brackets. There's many other options to have it to where you quick attach it and you can burn things. The JTech, I think it's worth the money. It's really not that expensive for what you get. The thing that you got to look into is if you actually want to cut wood, it's not going to be the greatest for cutting because it's a diode laser. It is not CO2. CO2 is much more powerful, but it's also much more money. So if you want one of those, they're really good, for etching and putting your logo in or something like that. And people, like I said, make nice quick attach frames for the front where you can swap back and forth. The only negatives I've heard about it is that it's not the greatest. It's not saying it can't cut wood. It's just not the greatest for it, and it's going to be very slow as compared to a dedicated laser that's going to be CO2, is made for cutting and stuff like that. But for the price, I think it's a great option, and you can add it on. And then I know with VCarve, they have a module to add on for laser, and there's also, I think, light burn, something like that. I haven't personally used a laser before. These are all things that I've heard and read on the different forums, so take it for what you will. Now, if you get really into this, you can replace this router with an actual spindle. With the spindle, you need to get a spindle and a pulse width modulator to actually power it and to get your speeds and this and that. The main benefit to a spindle is you're going to get a hell of a lot more power. It's also going to be quieter. It's going to last you longer. They're more precise, but they're also a decent amount of money, and there's different flavors of them. There's, I believe, a 60 millimeter and an 80 millimeter. So they do have different mounts that go around this that for the spindle. So if you get an 80 millimeter, they do make another one. And I believe it still rides on this chassis here. So if you see the 80 millimeter spindle mount, that's what that is. They don't sell spindles on the website currently. Maybe they will in the future. But there's plenty of people who are on the forums and this and that will talk about what spindles they use: air-cooled, water-cooled, 60 millimeter, 80 millimeter. And the other benefit too, I forgot to mention this, is I believe you can use 1/2-inch bits with them. So that's another added benefit. And also in your program, you can set what speed you want it to go at for each bit, and it will output that and do it for you instead of you turning a dial right here. That's all things to think about. I think that starting with a router is your best option, because if you outgrow the router, guess what? You got a router. Then you go to a spindle. If you go to the spindle first and you can't figure it out, it's just another thing to add on top of all this other learning you're going to do. I would highly advise just starting with this guy and then graduating yourself up, and you know what, you end up with a little handheld router for a little under $100. They also have on there extension cables. They got 2 foot, 4 foot. The 2 foot, I believe, is just for the woodworker. Whenever you put in something like this guy here for my cable management, you're going to need extension cables, because these cables are not going to be long enough to wrap all the way around and follow this entire path all the way to your controller. So you're going to need extension cables. There are shops on Etsy that make them. I think the ones they make on Onefinity are just as good. They make a 2 foot and a 4 foot. I believe the 4 foot is for these guys. I made my own custom ones. Onefinity is awesome. They even show the pinouts for all the different motors. They show what the part numbers for connectors are. So if you're interested in that, you can do that yourself as well. But they sell them pre-made too, so it's all up to you. So finally, the last thing I wanted to go over is they sell a breakout board adapter. This will get you your pulse width modulating controller in control of a bunch of different pins. Like there's an e-stop. There's a lot of different things you can access if you put your little pin out there. Sending out your commands to your pulse width modulator to turn on your spindle is one of them. There's many others. You can get this connector on Amazon or other places like that. There's nothing special about what Onefinity sells, but they're also not making much money on it. So, I mean, if you want to order everything at one time and get it all bundled, it's there. It's not necessary to operate the machine, but if you want to start going up and doing some more pro level stuff, you're going to need one. Hopefully this helped you guys with a very general overview of what options are available on the website before you purchase, and get your feet wet so you know what to look for, what to buy, what do I need to have. I've seen tons of people ask on there like, oh man, do I need to buy this? Do I need to buy this? Why would you buy this? And by no means is everything I said the definitive answer. There are many other reasons to say not get the probe, or well, this controller isn't the best. I would get this is all for the absolute beginner, and these are my thoughts only. If you have any other thoughts, please put them in the comments below. If you could, like, share, and subscribe. We got over 600 subscribers. I am so incredibly thankful. And again, once we get to 1,000, I'll be giving away a Jenny bit. I am not sponsored by any means by anybody, especially them. It's just kind of a small business I'm trying to support, and also give a thank you to you guys for helping me out, and give me a like and share and all that stuff. Lets me know I'm doing the right thing. Thanks again. This has been Nick with Zamora Woodworking, and I'll see you in the next one.